This podcast is part of Mishmash Media. Hello, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
Very good. Welcome to Curbcast Season 6. My name is Ivan.
And I'm Stephen.
And we are talking about the premiere episode today, Meet the Blacks. And every week we review an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, scene by scene. We finished Season 5 last week. Season 5, which we thought overall was, had some hits, but quite a few misses. Wasn't as consistent as previous seasons. But I tell you what, Steve, we've watched this episode, Meet the Blacks, and the next episode coming up. And we were just saying off air that we really enjoyed both of them. Pretty solid start to the season.
Totally. Hit the ground running. We do literally meet the Blacks, who become regular characters after this, so I'm led to believe. And
Loretta first, and then Leon next episode.
Yep. And they're fantastic, and these episodes rule. So can't wait to talk about them.
Absolutely. Well, today, like I said, we're talking about Season 6, Episode 1, Meet the Blacks. But yeah, very, very strong start. And it's a sign that I think Season 6, with the Black family involved, in Curb, and Leon being basically a mainstay from here on in, one of the main characters on the show. I think Curb will just get even better.
Indeed. We have some social media. If you want to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, or Instagram, our handle is @CurbcastPod. We've also got an email address if you want to say hello or talk about Curb or let us know anything about the podcast or whatever you want. That email is curbcastpod@gmail.com. We are on all your podcast apps, obviously, because you're listening on one right now. But if you want to rate us or review us or tell anyone you might think might like us, that would be awesome. And we do have a Patreon as well. If you want to help us out, patreon.com/mishmash media, which is the name of our burgeoning podcast network. For $1 US a month, you can help keep the lights on at Mishmash and help us chug along.
Indeed, yes. And hopefully later in the year we can provide you with some more content to really make your Patreon membership more worthwhile.
Indeed.
Anyway, let's do it, mate. Let's kick off Curbcast Season 6, Episode 1, premiere episode of Season 6, Meet the Blacks. This one aired on HBO for the very first time on September 9th, 2007. In this one, after Larry's quest to find the perfect excuse for missing a pair of parties backfires on him big time, he gets in a tense, heated fight with Cheryl. So to make up for it, he agrees to take in the Black family, who lost their home in Hurricane Edna. And this is the debut of Loretta Black, who is one of the members of that family. That she's played by Vivica A. Fox. So she is I think she's in Curb for at least this season and next season, from what I read. So she's not in for too long, but Leon, as we know from next week, when we see him for next episode, he's basically here from next week, pretty much on, while Curb's still running. So
yeah, well, I think they establish in the next episode that Leon lives in LA, so it makes sense that he's more of a prominent character.
Yes, absolutely. But Loretta definitely becomes a major part of Curb for the next season or two. So yeah, it was very, very good. And I did enjoy her character as well. Definitely, rough around the edges kind of gal, loves smoking inside. She doesn't care.
Yep.
And she doesn't give a fuck.
No, none of them do, and that's why I love them.
No, that's right. Also, Steve, just one, I think it might be like a continuity error, or maybe there might be some reasoning behind this. I'm not too sure. But in the last episode in Season 5, the end, the one which we did last week, the season finale, Richard Lewis refuses to let Larry use his favourite putting iron, like from what we talked about last week. But in this episode, Richard says that it's the first time he's ever played golf. So what's the deal with that?
Yeah, I did notice that the second watch of this episode, and I didn't really come up with much of a theory. I just thought, oh, that's a bit odd. But, off the top now, maybe he had the golf clubs, but he'd never played golf. Maybe he wanted to try out golf. So we went out and bought a nice set of golf clubs. And, the kidney kind of put those plans on the shelf for a little while he was sorting that out. And, he's since recovered. We see, in one of the final scenes of the end, he's in Hawaii, I think, with a babe a few months after his operation. So he's doing well. And, maybe he saw the golf clubs and he thought, I bought those before all my kidney issues. I'll give it a crack. And then, we discover in the opening scene that he doesn't really like it.
I wonder if that girl in Hawaii was Cha-Cha. Probably not. Looked like
maybe. I don't remember seeing her face because I think it's filmed. I think the shot is from the back. In the end, you see the back of their heads looking out towards the beach. So I don't think you see her face.
No,
So yeah,
but she had dark hair though, so you never
yeah.
know.
I mean, it could have been either way. Richard can pull the babes, Chow Chow or anonymous Hawaiian girl. Yeah, he gets the babes.
And Larry wants to sleep with Cha Cha,
Totally.
much to Cheryl's dismay.
Yes, indeed. But yeah,
Yes, we do see that.
That's the best I could come up with, the golf clubs. That, could be a completely shit take. I don't know. But yeah, maybe he bought them, couldn't use them initially because of his medical issues, his health issues. And then he's back in full health now, so he can get around to using them.
Most likely. And he hurts his shoulder. But like I said, that's next week. So
Yeah,
that's this week. Sorry. No, Richard does mention.
I do recall in the end, when Larry notices the golf clubs, I do remember, it's been a couple of weeks since we've recorded, but I do vaguely remember them being like quite new. They didn't look like a used set of golf clubs. That the bag didn't look aged, and the golf clubs didn't look used at all. So that is kind of where I'm coming from as well. Did you have an idea or anything different to that about?
No, I pretty much agree. I think probably Richard probably wanted to try his hand at golf, but yeah, he was too weak, because of this kidney scenario, and now he's back to full health. He wanted to give it a go, and he probably regrets it now.
Yeah.
He'll probably give Larry the clubs and sell them to him for a good price or something.
Totally.
Especially that putter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, before we do get in the episode, mate, we do like to mention a few highlights for episodes that we're talking about, just for those who may not have watched the episode for a little while, or just as a reminder. So in Meet the Blacks, a few highlights. We meet the Black family for the first time later on in the episode as well. Larry and Cheryl, they come up with an idea where, they don't want to go to Marty Funkhouse's party, so they turn up the day after thinking, pretending that they thought that was the night of the party. Marty draws them in and they get stuck there, and then the Greens turn up and chaos ensues when it's revealed that Larry wants to have sex with Richard's girlfriend, Cha-Cha, and that really escalates. And and then they do the same thing with Ted Danson and Mary Steenburgen later on as well, which backfires as well. So quite a few things that happen in this episode, a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, no, they... This is probably the most, I think we've commented the last few season premiere episodes. They usually start off quite gentle, simple, just introducing the storylines. And obviously they did that in this episode. They're setting it all up for the season long storylines. But yeah, there's just more. This episode felt more like a mid-season episode with more moving parts, more going on. I think now they realize that the Curb audience is established and we don't need to just do little soft, let's just start off gentle with the premiere episode of a season. Let's just go full on and hit the ground running. And, after 5 seasons of writing Curb, they're as confident as they can be. So yeah, you can really tell in this that I don't think they had any reservations about, are we going to overload this episode? Let's just chuck it all in there.
Yeah. And I feel like as well, Steve, especially one of our criticisms for season 5 was the fact that the adoption storyline was like the main arc, but they didn't kind of focus on it enough. Like it was just kind of like, put to the side until the last episode or two. I feel like the main storyline is probably just the Black, like for now, from what we've seen, probably like the Black family is like the main plot line. So, and it's kind of quite easy to like have them in episodes because they're actual people rather than like subjects or like things that Larry's trying to achieve or trying to get. So it's pretty hard for you to kind of like push the Blacks away because they're kind of like really in your face. So I feel like that's probably like the arc for season 6, like them being established in the house.
Totally.
So it's kind of, it's easier for the writers to kind of incorporate that in episodes.
Yeah, it's not a storyline that's just specific to Larry. It's not a personal situation for Larry. It's, they're in their house, so they're going to be around all the time. So it would be weird if they just disappeared for an episode or two, unexplained. I get the feeling as well that this season is going to end because this episode and the next episode both have Ted Danson, who was a regular in season 1 and kind of has appeared in season 3 with the restaurant.
Season 3 with the restaurant.
The restaurant, and has appeared, intermittently in season 2, 4, and 5. Popped up in an episode here or there, but he's quite prominent in this episode and episode 2. So I'm guessing that he's going to be a more featured, guest in this season as well.
Yeah,
I could be completely off, but just the fact that he's appeared in and been involved with the main storyline quite prominently in these first 2 episodes.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Could just be let's get Ted on for a couple of episodes and then he goes away. But I don't know. He seems more, he just seems back in the mix of it.
Back in the mix. I feel like that too. Yeah. Well, let's see how it goes. For those who are uninitiated, who are listening to Curbcast for the first time, we are watching these episodes for the first time.
Yeah.
So we have, and like we've watched the first 2 episodes in advance for season 6, but we don't know what happens after. So it's all fresh to us. So it's very exciting.
Totally.
We don't know what's going to happen.
Totally.
Anyway, let's get into it. Hey, meet the Blacks. Scene 1. Larry and Cheryl are asleep and they wake up to hear an alarm which turns off moments later. They think nothing of it as they go back to sleep. The alarm starts again. They wonder what that sound could be. Larry realizes it's the batteries in one of their smoke alarms. They both go to see which alarm is making the noise. They go upstairs, look everywhere. They can't see it. Larry goes downstairs and they see the one which is affected near the kitchen back door. Larry goes on the stepladder to try to remove the battery from the alarm with no success. He ends up getting a baseball bat and smashing the alarm as it falls off its wires and all the wires are kind of just like dangling out of the wall. It falls on the ground and it still beeps, probably like the battery, it's still connected, and he basically smashes it. He beats it some more and the alarm finally stops. So at first, we do see later on, how like what happened after Larry smashed the smoke alarm. Like I thought maybe this was going to be like, I don't know, maybe just like an establishing shot for the episode and maybe this won't lead anywhere, but Curb being Curb, we find out later that the having no smoke alarm in that particular spot has some severe consequences.
Yeah, they usually pay off those scenes that don't seem consequential at first. They usually come back around to them. It's rare that they have something happen and it not mean something else later on. And a smoke alarm that now doesn't work kind of implies that, well, what could happen with that? Well, a fire. I didn't predict that there would be anything specific, but I related the two. I'm like, well, this means something. It's got to be something to do with a fire, and we'll discuss that later on. But yeah, when Larry and Cheryl woke up confused, not sure what the sound was, and then Larry was going around the house half asleep, trying to find out the offending alarm. I could just relate to that so hard. I've been in that situation before where you're woken up in the middle of the night by a piercing, shrieking alarm sound and you're running around trying to find which one it is. So this scene spoke to me real hard.
Yeah, I know. I had a fire alarm like probably a couple of months ago that it was one of those ones that was connected to mains power as well.
Yep.
But it had like a battery pack as well. But even though like it had mains power, you had to do the backup battery. But it was like an alarm which you couldn't just twist off. You had to like get screws and unscrew it. And it was such a pain in the ass. And like we replaced the battery, but I was just like, oh my freaking God.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
And the one that's going off is always the hardest to reach. It's never one that's just, a normal ceiling. It's always a higher hall ceiling or something like that. So you have to go out to the shed and get a ladder or step on a chair that's a bit wonky. It's the one alarm that fucks with you is always the hardest to reach. It's never one that you can just tippy toe up to the roof and pull down. It's always really out of the way.
Yeah, I know. It's so annoying. we got so many smoke alarms in this house.
Yeah, I mean,
and the one that fucked up was like in this weird corner. It's like, oh my God, like Larry's one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just one that he can reach up and. I mean, this one isn't too high, but just this whole scene and the frustration and that rage that Larry has from being woken up suddenly and not knowing which alarm it is, and that I understand that's why they're designed like that, so that they cut through any sound and you can, like an ambulance, it's really piercing, but that's why the sound is the sound.
It's supposed to wake you.
Totally. and I'm sure, smoke alarms, big ups for smoke alarms, not dissing smoke alarms, save many a life. And I feel safer in my house knowing that I've got them. But when they do go off and it's not, it's from cooking or just them shitting themselves and having a mental breakdown, it wakes up a rage in me. I just want to shut it up. I want to get a baseball bat and smash the shit out of it. It's something about it just wakes up that, like that Hulk rage. I just go, shut up.
You get triggered.
Yeah, it's just, it's like, I feel like, in Kindergarten Cop, when all the kids are going crazy and Arnie, it's before he sort of gets comfortable with them and he's trying to figure out how to be a teacher to these kids who are just
he explodes, yeah?
And he just goes, shut up! Yeah. I feel like that every time. Every time there's an unnecessary smoke alarm. It's just, shut up! So
shut up.
This scene, I was like, yes, I get it, Larry. I want to get a baseball bat and smash those fucking alarms.
Yeah, but at least when you're going to do that, at least get a replacement smoke alarm.
Totally. I would never smash a smoke alarm. No, I just understand the feeling.
Yeah, I know. Especially when you're trying to sleep, when it's like
totally, yeah, and you can't find it, and it's hard to reach, and it's just that sound, and then you think, why did you go off? There's no smoke. There's no. You're just fucking with me.
Oh well. But the message here at Curbcast is if you're going to smash a smoke alarm, at least get a replacement one on the same day.
Yeah, we're all about fire safety. So yeah, if you want to rage smash a smoke alarm, go out and get a new one or fix it or do it. Make sure you've always got working smoke alarms. But we support your need to rage smash an alarm. We support both.
Rage against the smoke alarm machine.
rage against the smoke alarm. Yeah.
Fuck you! I won't do what you tell me. Fire alarm.
Yeah, smashing in the name of.
Yeah. Yes. The next day, Richard, Jeff, and Larry are in a country club dressing room as Richard is complaining about shoulder pain. Larry says that he is impressed with Richard and how he played golf, even though Richard talked about his injury. Richard comments on Larry being a child on the course, as Larry jokes that Richard should pay back his $150 guest fee that he paid for, and Richard can't believe he paid $150 for him. They watch the news and they see footage from Hurricane Edna. Richard comments that this is like another Hurricane Katrina or Hurricane Katrina all over again. Larry asks if Jeff went to Marty's party last night, and he said he wanted to bail on Ted's party as well. He doesn't like going to too many parties, Larry, we find out. Jeff says that he said that his daughter was sick and that he couldn't go to the party. And Larry wonders what his excuse is going to be as he doesn't have children. He comes up with the idea to turn up tonight, so the night after Marty's party, as the excuse, pretending that, they got the dates wrong. Jeff loves the idea, but Richard says it's stupid. Larry impersonates Richard in the mirror. He sucks in his lips and he starts combing his hair. I love that impression of Richard. It's so good. Exaggerated. They comment on Richard's new girlfriend, Cha-Cha, when he leaves, as they say that they will meet later on. So, a few interesting things. We find out Richard has a girlfriend called Cha-Cha, and Larry, he doesn't like going to too many parties. He wants to, he wanted to bail on Marty's party so he can go to Ted's party, because Ted's party was going to be tonight. So it sounds like Marty's parties are pretty boring and Ted's are pretty good by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I get that impression as well. I can understand that. Ted's he's a pretty easygoing kind of fun guy. Everyone loves him. He's just like that dude that everyone wants to hang out with. Kind of like his character in Cheers, he was just every man that everyone loved. I feel like that's kind of who Ted is. And yeah, and Marty's, I don't know, he seems a bit more of he seems more dull. So as a person, so I can understand why their parties would reflect their characters.
Yeah. Because we find out in the next scene what Marty did for the party and stuff, and I can imagine it's pretty boring.
Yeah, I just imagine it. If I had to choose between, I don't know either one of them, but if they were, if Marty was a real person and Ted Danson was as he is in Curb in real life, and I had to choose, I'd choose Ted.
Yeah, me too. Just be careful when Cheryl's around.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which we find out in the next episode. But yeah, no, and plus I think it's also, I think Larry, because of his age, and I think he's not really the most social person.
No,
he's misanthropic. I think with Larry, having back-to-back parties at his age, he probably just doesn't. He's not really a party kind of guy. He kind of throws them. He kind of just does it because they, he goes to parties because they're like his friends, and he doesn't want to let them down. But I kind of see what he means. It doesn't happen often, but there's sometimes situations where you might have like a couple of parties, on a weekend, and maybe the one of them you don't really know too well, or you don't really like them, you don't want to go, but you definitely want to see your friend, your other friend as well. I mean, we've been in situations, they don't come up often, but when they do, I can kind of feel pretty fatigued. So I kind of get where Larry's coming from.
Yeah, and I think he hasn't had the best history with Marty either.
Especially with what at the dad's funeral and stuff as well.
Exactly. So there's probably that as well. He just doesn't want to see him. And I mean, Ted and him have had tensions as well, but he seems to get along with Ted a bit more, or like Ted a bit more. And I think that's more to do with Ted than Larry. And, Larry's unenthusiastic about most things. So it makes sense as well.
Later that night, the Davids are driving to Ted's party as Cheryl says that she can't stop thinking about the hurricane on the news. Larry, while she's talking about it, Larry comments on someone who cuts him off. And he says that his father used to call these kind of people schmohawks, as in bad drivers.
Schmohawks.
Hey, schmohawk. Cheryl comes up with the suggestion to house a displaced family tomorrow at their place, and Larry says that he needs more time to mentally prepare for this. Because, if you bring a family in from somewhere else, Larry has his systems, as we know by this stage. He has his own way of life, and he's not really good at change. He needs a bit of time to kind of adjust. So, yeah, for Larry, having a family come move with them tomorrow, it's too much for him.
Yeah, I mean, he struggles with, we saw in the end, I mean, he was going through a pretty personal, a bit of a personal crisis, but the idea of him bearing the responsibility of manning the emergency seating on a plane was too much for him. So to suddenly have a family of strangers move into your house indefinitely, I can understand being a bit reluctant about it or wanting a bit of time to think about it or prepare for it. But, there's also sometimes you've got to put your own personal shit aside and just do the right thing. So I can understand both perspectives. Cheryl's like, no, let's just do it. It's the right thing to do. It's really sad. Got to help out our fellow men, whereas Larry's a bit more reluctant. I can empathize with both points of view. I thought this scene was a perfect portrayal of kind of where Cheryl and Larry's relationship is for the most part.
Yes.
They're both having different conversations. Cheryl's having a thoughtful conversation about something that's, really, really fucked up. A bunch of people getting displaced by a natural disaster and what can we do to help? And, she's concerned about, other people and doing the right thing. Whereas Larry's just focusing on something mundane and boring and just fixating on it and completely ignoring Cheryl. And they're just talking past each other and there's no warmth. I just thought it was a really perfect little encapsulation of kind of where the relationship is and where it's
the wheels are falling off.
Completely disconnected. He's just fixating on bullshit. She's more concerned about something that's actually important and worth talking about or at length, and they're talking over each other. They're not listening to each other. They're just having two separate conversations. And, eventually they get on the same page and, about the taking in a family and stuff. But initially it's just, they're worlds apart.
Yeah, I absolutely. I like, because I think this is the season where Cheryl and Larry divorce.
And I think
I'm quite sure this is the one. Season 6. So we have seen it. We have commented several times about we see the wheels starting to fall off like season 3, season 4 in their marriage, and after Cheryl's mistimed question about her husband, her dead husband's will in the end, which kind of changed my perception of her as well. Yeah, you absolutely make a great point. They get to the point where now they're just not talking to each other; they're kind of talking over each other and about different subjects as well. So there's like no listening in their relationship. They're not listening to each other.
Yeah, they're just on completely different pages. They're at different, and it's not just a one-off thing. This is more common than not these days. So at this point in their relationship, so I think it was a deliberate choice in the writing of like we really need to show how disconnected this couple is. And they did it well.
Yeah, they did very well, and we see next episode more of that happening, especially with Cheryl and Ted with the flirting.
Totally, yep.
The Davids arrive at Marty's front door. Marty asks where they were at the party, and Larry says they thought tonight was the party. And he asks, where is everyone? And Marty says, they left about 24 hours ago. Larry and Cheryl pretend that they thought the party was tonight. And Marty comments that it was a great party. They missed out on a lot. And Larry still goes on with this excuse idea. Cheryl begins to feel a bit silly about it, but she goes along with it as well. Marty says, hey, you guys have nothing to do tonight. You have no plans, right? Why didn't you come in? And he beckons them both in. They both at first say they got to go. They don't want to say they're going to Ted's party to, offend Marty or whatever, but they go in reluctantly. So this is the first of a couple of incidents like this.
Yeah. I love how aggressive Marty is about them staying. He's really
he's like, no, stay.
And you see the looks in Larry and Cheryl's eyes of like, oh God, this is throwing out our plans. We were just going to pop in for, Larry just said it'll take a few minutes, because Cheryl's initially reluctant in the car about going through with pretending that they got the party, the night of the party wrong. Yeah, and when Marty is just forcing them in, like I think he's physically sort of pulling them in at one point. He goes from just like insistence of like, no, stay, like you're here, like to like just dragging them in, and you can see the rest of the night falling apart, and then the rest of the episode just crumbling. All of Larry's plans that he's probably been thinking about for a few days and thinking this will go off without a hitch. I'll pretend I missed Marty's party and then I'll go to Ted's and it'll all be good with Marty because he'll go, well, Larry got the wrong night and I'll have a great night at Ted's. It just all falls apart in front of them when Marty's pulling him in. I just really like the scene. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. And it really shows that Marty can be a bit of a dick to Larry as well.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know. They never really say or indicate, but I kind of got the sense that Marty kind of knew that Larry was full of shit.
Yeah, and he was my theory. My theory was that he knew that Larry, because Marty makes a point saying he sent them an invite.
Yeah,
and the invite would have the date on it. So how can you get that wrong?
And Larry's pretend shock of getting the wrong night when it's like, oh, really? Like it's so insincere. It's
who gets the wrong night of a party?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's happened, but the reaction when they find out that it's quote unquote the wrong night when they're standing at the door is just so transparent and insincere.
Yeah.
Like it's so.
I think that Marty did that on purpose. I think.
Yeah,
he just
to me,
gets
it's
them in on
Marty. Like
purpose.
Marty's like, well, obviously they've got other plans. He might not know about Ted's party specifically, but I'm going to fuck them. They don't want to be here. I'm going to fuck their plans up, or I'm just going to force them to stay here just to sort of fuck with Larry, really.
Yeah. And we see like some things that they do, when they get together, and I think it's stuff that they obviously didn't do at the party, but we'll talk about it in the next couple of scenes.
Where's everybody?
You mean from the party? Oh, they've been gone for about 24 hours. Party was last night.
Last night?
Great party. Oh, yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Are you kidding?
We never heard from you.
The party was last night.
Yeah, we sent you an invitation, Did you get the
Oh my
invitation?
God, that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
We missed the party?
Totally missed it.
How did that happen?
Oh, it was a great party.
This might be the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life.
So
we've ever done.
You guys thought the party was tonight.
The couples are chatting on the couch as Marty recaps the great things that happened at the party. He talks about improv karaoke, which I had to think what that was, but I'm guessing they probably get like an instrumental song and maybe they sing lyrics, made up lyrics over it.
Maybe it's just made up lyrics over a classic melody or something.
Yeah, that's probably my guess. And I'm like, okay, that sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah.
The Davids try and leave. And you mentioned that Marty, was using some force. Marty actually, he grabs Larry and throws him back on the couch.
Yeah, it wasn't coming in. It was, when they tried to leave after coming in. Yep.
Yeah. So Marty actually physically restrains Larry as Larry's trying, like he gets up off the couch. I love that kind of physical comedy. He kind of like shakes Larry a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, no, stay, you're staying here.
Yeah.
And he just pushes him back down on the chair.
Yeah,
Such good physical comedy.
It definitely feels like he's fucking with them, like forcing them to stay. That is making a point.
He's making a very good point. That's why I think this is all deliberate.
Yeah.
He knew, like you're right. He called out Larry's shit, the second that they said they thought tonight was the party.
Yeah.
Like he knew. Because Marty said, I sent you an invite.
Yeah.
So it's got the date. You knew when the party was on.
Exactly.
And you didn't call. Like he says, like you didn't even get a call or nothing. So yeah, it just goes to them basically.
Yep.
Marty says that they should play what they played at the party last night, which I believe is not an actual event they did. 1,000-stick pickup. So you throw 1,000 sticks in a room and whoever gets the most sticks wins the bet. I don't think they played that at the party.
No, and if they did, that's a really weird party game.
Yeah. No, didn't happen. It's just to like fuck with Larry.
Yeah.
The doorbell rings. Luckily for Larry, they don't have to play that game. The Greens arrive, Susie and Jeff, and they use the same excuse as Larry. And I think once again, Marty picks up on the fact that the Greens are full of shit, but he probably realizes that Larry and Cheryl use the same excuse. And they said, oh, such a coincidence. Guess who's here as well?
Yeah, and I think if anything, if Marty wasn't 100% sure whether Larry was full of shit or not, if he had any doubt whatsoever, that was completely gone when he saw Jeff turn up with the same excuse. He's like, well, Jeff and Larry are best mates and business partners. Obviously, they both planned on doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, Marty, there might have been a bit of benefit of the doubt Marty was giving Larry of like, well, maybe he did turn up on the wrong night. But as soon as Jeff was at the door, he's like, there's no way. Like that two people who are in each other's lives all the time would do the same thing to the same party. That's any doubt I think was eliminated right then.
That's why he beckoned in the Greens as well.
Yeah, totally. He's like, well, you're all in on this little scam. I'll rope you all in and fuck your night up for everyone.
I got nothing to do. He probably knew Ted's party was on too.
Maybe he did. Like maybe he heard about it or, common connections because everyone seems to be loosely connected in Larry's world, there's always a lot of coincidences. So yeah, maybe he heard through the grapevine that Ted was having a good party and that Ted throws, again, as we've kind of theorized that Ted would probably throw a pretty good party. I'm going to keep them from Ted's party.
Yeah, that's what I think it is too. Larry and Cheryl try to leave. Larry pulls Jeff aside and berates him for stealing his idea. And Jeff promises to leave, that they'll leave after 5 minutes. Larry says, no, we're locked in. It's not going to be 5 minutes. We're here all night. The scene cuts to them all at the table eating cake and drinking coffee. Larry and Jeff praise how good the cake is. Larry says it's the best cake he's ever eaten. The Davids and Greens both try to leave as they come up with excuses. Jeff and Susie use their daughter as an excuse. She's got like a puppet. She's got to prepare for like a puppet performance or something like that. And Larry says his father has a virus and a fever and he's under the blankets. And I love the snide comment that Susie makes. She's like, your dad always has a virus. Just kind of like full of shit. Marty interrupts the arguing by banging his fist on the table. And he says, you know what? Your daughter can bring her puppets to Larry's father's house tomorrow. and give him a performance of a lifetime. He can take care of that tomorrow. But you're here now, and we're going to do some more stuff.
Yeah.
He offers for them to all go to the living room to play the Newlywed Game. So Marty, he knows they're both full of shit. And,
Yeah,
Marty's got nothing to do tonight, and because it's established that Marty and Larry are kind of like, they're frenemy. They're more frenemies. Like, we have mentioned that Larry and Richard are frenemies, but I think Larry and Richard have like a warmth, like a good friendship between them. But I think Marty and Larry are actually frenemies. And like they give each other shit and fuck each other, but I think Marty really wants to give Larry and Jeff like a good run.
Totally. Yeah. He knows what he's doing.
He knows, I know, and that's what makes it hilarious. They're all on the couch playing the Newlywed Game, and they all seem to be having a lot of fun. So we actually notice that Larry and Jeff, they're actually having a good time, surprisingly. Like their mood's kind of changed.
Yeah, they lighten up and they seem to relax and start enjoying themselves.
They probably know that they won't be able to go to Ted's party, so they're kind of just like, all right.
Yeah, they're probably just like, let's just go with this. We can't we've tried to leave so many times. Our excuses aren't working. We're getting physically restrained. Let's just go with it.
Especially Larry, yeah.
Totally.
Marty comes up with the next question. He asks, whose wife and girlfriend would you have sex with if you had the chance? Marty goes first, and he says, even though Cheryl, she's very adorable, and Susie, she dresses really well. Susie says sarcastically, well, that's my shtick, Marty. Dressing up nicely.
That's my forte.
Marty says that he would still prefer to sleep with his wife, and everyone has applause, they clap and stuff and all that kind of thing. Larry's turn, and who would sleep with? He said that he would sleep with Cha-Cha. And Cheryl says, Richard's girlfriend, you'd sleep with Cha-Cha? And then Marty gets upset. Everyone just gets offended. And Larry turns to Jeff and says who he'd sleep with. And Jeff says, oh, Susie, of course. And then Larry says, you're full of shit. Because we do know that Larry, that Jeff has had some at least one extramarital affair. And he's been with women, during his separation with Susie when he stayed in the hotel in season 2. So, he has lots of infidelity. And everyone just begins arguing, yelling. Larry eventually says, fuck you, Marty, fuck you, Jeff, I'm out of here. And it's implied that they're actually going to leave finally.
Yeah, he's got an opportunity to leave. And, I think Larry's upset as well because the day before at the in the locker room, they both agreed that Cha-Cha's really hot.
Yeah. Well, she's played by Tia Carrera, very beautiful.
Totally.
Actress.
Yeah, and and so Larry knows that Jeff would have answered the same thing if he wouldn't have gotten in trouble. So, and the fact that he's like, no, it would have been Susie, of course. Like, what are you talking about, Larry? Don't say that. Yeah, it's Larry just. Larry thinks Jeff's a coward.
I love when Susie, because the wives have to write their answers. I love if you pause it and look at Susie's chart or board, she wrote it would never happen. That Jeff would sleep with other women, never happen. And big exclamation marks.
Wow.
That was a nice little touch. So if Jeff said, oh, I'd sleep with this person, Susie would be like, nah, no fucking way.
No.
That was a nice little touch there.
Yeah, she's got that locked down. And I mean, it shouldn't happen anyway because, infidelity is not good.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think that represents her. She wears the pants in that relationship.
She certainly does. But yeah, no, but I could imagine with Cheryl, it's quite upsetting. I mean, you're committed to another person. And then they say, oh, if I had the chance, I'd sleep with someone else that we know. I mean, that's not a nice thing.
I think it's also if it's a game and the question is who out of it,
who? If it was which famous person would you sleep with, and you don't have any friends, attachment to them emotionally, or you don't know them, I'd sleep with Scarlett Johansson or something. Someone where the idea is you would never even meet them, let alone sleep with them. But the fact that it's someone in your circle, and you'd say I would sleep with them, and it's a possibility as well. I can see why Cheryl would get upset.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying it wouldn't be nice. I understand why. But if you're in that situation playing that game, it's not reasonable to expect that everyone would say, well, no, I'll sleep with my wife. That's the point of those games, is to be a bit risque and, just be a bit, and it is just fantasy. It's a fun game. It's not if Larry just out of the blue said, you know what, that Cha-Cha is really hot, I'd fuck her. That's totally different because it's out of context. But they were playing a game, and the question created the context where Larry could say that without, again, I'm not saying Cheryl has no right to be upset, but if you're playing that game and it's it's kind of like truth or dare. You're in a situation where, you're saying things that ordinarily maybe you wouldn't say, but it's permitted because it's a game that we're all consenting to, I don't know.
Yeah.
Imagine if you were playing that game and then every single person went, oh, I'd sleep with my husband or wife only. Like,
Yeah, that's lame. That's kind of lame. I get your point.
It's a bit lame. Yeah, it's just I don't know. But at the same time, kind of like the Larry's reluctance to take in the family and Cheryl's keenness. I understand both points of view.
Yeah.
I can appreciate both.
Yeah, but so you think it was a bit of an overreaction to Larry?
Oh, I mean, Cheryl. I don't think Cheryl really. she just looked a bit like, oh, okay, a bit hurt. But
I think she was more like Richard's girlfriend. Richard's girlfriend. And
it's probably like extra offensive because she's kind of like, we don't know if obviously they've met her at least once because they all know who she is, or at least they're aware of her because they're like, oh yeah, Richard's girlfriend. But I guess if she was a more established part of the group, if she was a longer term girlfriend of Richard's, and he does go through girlfriends pretty quickly, so maybe there is that aspect of as well of like, well, she's just Richard's latest squeeze. You just want to fuck her because she's hot.
Sure. Yeah.
Like that probably adds an element of like cheapness to it, I guess.
Probably.
Yeah. We've done a bit of a deep dive on what is not a very complicated scene, but yeah.
Actually, you've convinced me though. You make a good point. Like Larry it was in the context of the game, and it's only hypothetical. Like
it's not like I said, if he brought it up out of the blue, or if he just kept on going on and on about it, if he was just like, oh yeah, Cha Cha, she's really hot, and I would do this, and this is why I would fuck her. If it's really like gratuitous, but if it's just like, oh yeah, Cha Cha, it's like, well, because I mean, Cheryl, if Cheryl said I'd sleep with Marty, then you know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's both parties, both points of view. I understand.
That's fair, but it's probably not a game that I'd play with close friends.
No, I mean, there's potential for for issues to arise.
Yeah, and look, I feel like with the Newlywed Game, the 1,000 stick pickup, I think it was either stuff. Yeah, I think it was stuff that wasn't actually played at his party, or it was either stuff that wasn't played at his party, and he's just like sticking it to the Greens and the Davids, or maybe it shows that Marty's parties are so boring, he plays all this dumb, dorky kind of shit.
Yeah, I mean, pick up
one of the two,
and I mean, this game's kind of a bit. I feel like this is more like a Ted and Mary game. Like this,
I'd probably say so too.
A bit like just a tiny bit sexy. Without being, they're not swingers, but it's it's a tiny bit fun and loose sort of thing.
Yeah, and plus they're all friends, so
yeah. And I feel like if they're at Ted and Mary is playing this game, the vibe would be different. It wouldn't be as uptight. And I feel like if they were there and they're all having a good time and everyone's sort of on the same page about, well, it's just a game, it's not real. And Larry said, I sleep with Cha Cha. I think everyone would be like, ooh, like, I don't think everyone would have been up in arms about it.
No.
Because the vibe would have been, everyone's like, yeah, cool. Like we're having a good time with Ted and Mary and it's just a fun game in the context of this party.
And that's our marriage podcast episode. Thanks for
Yeah. This is
a real deep dive.
Yeah, totally.
No, but I get your point. Yeah, I think Larry was probably a bit too overflamed for what he did.
Totally.
Yeah, Larry is locked outside of their house as he apologizes to Cheryl for what he says. She opens the door after he said that he would do anything for her. She says anything, and he says anything short of adopting a family from the hurricane. And she shuts the door on him. Nice one. So obviously she's really, really upset about his cha-cha remark. It really affected her.
Yeah.
Because he's holding his blanket outside the door as well. So it's implied he's going to either sleep in his car or let's go somewhere else.
Sleep on the couch or, yeah.
Oh, no, I think he was outside his front door.
Oh, yeah. Go to a hotel or something.
Yeah. Or actually, was it inside? No, it was their front door.
I can't remember.
Doors? Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw. I thought it was outside their house. Oh, it could have been inside. Maybe he was about to sleep on the couch or something. Yeah. Maybe they've got double doors in their bedroom. I don't know.
Who knows?
It's such a big mansion. Who knows? Who knows how the rich live? I got no idea. Do you have double doors in your bedroom? Let us know. Curvecastpod@gmail.com. The next evening, the Davids are heading to the airport to pick up the hurricane-affected family, as Larry gives the finger to another schmohawk, a passing motorist. Larry says before they get to the airport, they just need to take a quick detour to Ted's house to use the wrong party date excuse again, because Ted's party was the night before when they went to Marty's. They arrive, Ted opens the door. He says that he was a bit pissed off that they didn't call, and he said that he had a great party. And the party was actually last night. Larry and Cheryl once again pretend, that they got the dates wrong. Mary goes to the front door and she invites the Davids in for some leftovers as well as Ted. And Larry and Cheryl look at each other and realize that they're stuck in another situation where they can't get out. But this time, it's not as aggressive as it was with Marty.
Yeah, it's a bit more gentle. I think, again, because Ted and Mary are just more easygoing, likable people, so they're not going to be as weird and aggressive about it.
Yeah. They're not as weird and aggressive, and they don't mind. And Ted also says, like Marty did, you guys don't have any plans. Come in.
Yeah, and I feel like Ted, like whatever Ted says, people are like, okay. He's just got that ability to not make people, but he's so likable that people will just, Marty's a bit more, he's harder to like. So he kind of has to put more effort in to make people do what he wants. Whereas Ted's like, hey, come inside. Okay, Ted.
He's like an everyman.
Yeah, people are more willing to just acquiesce to Ted a bit more because it's like, it's Ted Danson, of course. Like,
but the thing is, like, Larry and Cheryl had to go pick up that family, so they already had plans. I love when Cheryl's face as they walk in, like she like grits her teeth. You can see like her bottom lips is kind of like passed open.
Yeah,
I know she has that kind of like gritted teeth kind of look.
You kind of do like a breath in. You're like, yeah. Like,
and her bottom teeth are exposed.
Yeah.
She's like, I love that look as she walks in.
Yeah, just like, oh, not again.
Not again.
and they're not just going to miss a party this time. They're making a family who've just flown in after losing everything, waited at an airport, not uncertain of their future and they're just their lives in general. And they're like, oh, we got to make them wait at an airport. Like the stakes are much higher by coming inside Ted and Mary's house.
Mm-hmm, for sure. There's actually like a family's lives.
Yeah, it's actually important that they don't miss this.
The couples are talking on the couch and Ted asks what's happening with the Davids. As Ted says they're behaving like they don't want to be here. Larry makes excuses to try and leave. And Larry says, oh, my car must be on. I better go check on it. Ted says he's lying about Larry's car being left on because usually there's on those cars that they can afford, there's like a sound that comes up if your car engine's left on.
I believe it's beep, 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 beep.
Beep, 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 yes.
they say beep, 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 beep about 3 times, so hard to forget.
Beep, beep, beep. Yes, it's hard to forget.
It's something so small, but I just really liked it. I know a lot of Curb is kind of, ad-libbed or semi-ad-libbed when they shoot the scenes. But when Larry goes, my car goes beep, 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 beep. And Ted goes, Ted goes, if your ignition was on, it would go beep, 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 beep. And then Larry's reply is the same. He's like, no, it doesn't go beep, 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 beep. And Ted goes, yes, it does go beep, beep, beep. The fact that they say beep, 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 beep 3 or 4 times in their little exchange just really, tickled me.
They're like children.
Yeah, you could have gone, no, your thing beeps. Oh, no, it doesn't beep. But the fact that they say the amount of beeps, back and forth, it just really tickled me. I liked it.
It's a nice touch, nice improv there.
It adds to the immaturity, like you said, of the situation that they're arguing over a very obvious lie and something so dumb. Mm-hmm. They're just like, no, it does beep, 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 beep.
That's right. Beep, 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 beep. Yeah, they're both beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, it's just, if you were having that little argument in real life, you wouldn't keep saying beep, 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 beep. You would just say, you would just say a sound or the beep, not beep, 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 beep.
They're just trying to get on each other's nerves.
Yeah, they're just trying to win. It's so small and petty, but I love it. I thought it was great.
They make a $500 side bet to see if it's working or not, as there is a knock on the door. Richard and Char Char arrive at the front door, and they also use Larry's excuse for not attending the party last night, and they are also forced in the house. Nice touch here when Ted says, would you guys like a drink? Richard, would you like a drink? Richard says, I'm a recovering alcoholic.
Yeah.
And then Ted's like, oh, that's right, you're an alcoholic.
Yeah, but he kind of...
It's like he doesn't listen to him. He's like, oh, yeah, just alcoholic.
Yeah, like Ted kind of half says, he's like, oh, yeah, you're an alcoholic. Yeah. He just says whatever the next thing is, yeah.
No, he just kind of like doesn't... He just hears the word alcoholic. He's like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not like, oh, like if I made that slip up, I'd be like, oh, look, I'm really sorry, I forgot, my apologies. But Ted's just like, yeah, oh yeah, okay, yeah, you're an alcoholic, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, Richard's just, Ted's just like a happy-go-lucky kind of guy.
He's whatever, you're an alcoholic. Like, he's like, I'm a perfect person with no problems, and you're an alcoholic. Okay, yeah. Anyway, do you want a drink?
Yeah, yes. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I got a brand new kidney given to me by the man across the room.
Yeah.
It'd be unwise for me to have a drink at this point. Larry pulls Richard aside to call him out on stealing his idea, as Richard blasts Larry for saying that he wants to sleep with Char Char, as he received 35 calls from different people about this. And Larry said it's part of the newlywed game. It wasn't real.
Yeah.
So Richard gets upset that Larry wants to sleep with Cha-Cha. Larry decides to leave, and he and Richard, more physical comedy, but we don't see physical comedy too often between Larry and Richard. We saw it earlier seasons, but not so much lately. But Larry and Richard get in a bit of a tussle as well. And they grab each other as they fight over who's going to leave the house, and the Davids eventually walk out.
Yeah. I think because Richard's, he's in what we assume is basically full health again. He's got a bit more energy. So it would be weird if he was sickly and on the way out and they were wrestling or doing something physical.
Oh, that's very true. Yeah.
In the last
that's
season,
true.
but now he's got a spring in his step again, and he's got his hot girlfriend. He's a bit more lively.
Yeah. But it just kind of reminded me of the earlier seasons where Larry and Richard would sometimes get in like physical tussles.
Yeah, and I think season 3 or 4 we commented that Richard was a bit more passive. He was just or more like gentle or something. Like
he was much calmer. Yeah,
much calmer. And then last season with his kidney issues, so now he's he's got his fire back.
Yeah, he's back to his old self.
Back to his old self, where he's just got that. Yeah, it's not aggression, but it's just like he's a bit more fiery, I guess.
Well, hopefully we get to see more physical tussles between the both of them.
Totally.
The Davids are back in the car to get the family. They arrive at the airport, which is empty except for them. They spot a family sitting on some chairs and they look very tired. They walk over to them and ask if they were waiting on the David family to pick them up. They apologize for being late, and Larry asks them if their last name really is Black. As he says, it'd be like if his surname was Jew. Larry Jew.
Oh god,
And Cheryl just like gives him the side eye.
Oh man, it's just like, imagine being asked that. I mean, at any point that's an awkward thing to say and an awkward thing to hear, but you've just arrived in a strange city again after going through what would be one of the hardest things anyone could go through, losing everything, not being certain about your future, temporarily moving to a strange city with strangers. You don't know anyone, what's going on back home. Like there's so much to deal with, and you've been waiting at an airport, they haven't told you where they are. You're like, are they turning up? What's going on? The airport's nearly shut. There's no one there. Like just the most fucked up situation. And Larry's like, your last name's Black? Like it just brings up the most inane shit at the worst times. And I mean, that's what we're here for. That's what we love Curb for.
Yes.
How the Blacks take it is extremely admirable. They all kind of just give him a weird look of like, okay. And then the mother's like, anyway, sorry, the grandmother. Is it the grandmother?
The aunt.
Yeah. Sorry. She's like, anyway, we really appreciate you taking us in. Like she's just like, okay, that was weird. Let's move on. It's
that's right.
It's just, they've been through the worst shit. And then Larry's, with his fucking weirdo observations that no one gives a fuck about. I mean, it's hilarious. And he won't let it go as well. Like they start walking, with their bags to the car.
And then he says, what if my surname was Gentile?
Yeah, he's like,
yeah. I don't know. He just keeps going as the scene.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, Larry, like, just shut up now.
Shut up now.
Like I say, shut the fuck up, Larry.
Exactly. You say that many times. The mother, Loretta, the aunt, Ray, and the children, Kaisha and Daryl, head to the car with them as Larry still talks about surnames and, being called Gentile and stuff like that. He just keeps going as the scene fades out.
Yeah.
So your last name is Black.
Yes.
That's like if my last name was Jew, like Larry Jew. Because I'm Jewish.
Well, we really do appreciate y'all letting us stay with you.
We really
do.
Yeah, we
do
appreciate that.
No, but don't you see, because you're black and...
No.
They arrive at the Davids' house and admire what they see as they look around the house. The kids seem very excited as well. Ray and the kids walk around the house. Loretta is still in the hallway with the Davids. She lights up a smoke in the house. Larry tries to passively ask her to stop smoking, and Loretta doesn't listen. And Cheryl suggests that they should hold a party to celebrate their arrival. So, Loretta, we can see she's pretty loose. She's pretty fancy-free. She's got a bit of sass about her, and she doesn't mind lighting up a cigarette inside.
Yeah, she's she's doing a thing.
She is, yes. Very, very sassy. I like her.
Yeah, no, I like her too. She's a good character. And the perfect kind of character to get on Larry's nerves. Just...
Yes.
like perfectly engineered to be a fucking thorn in Larry's side all the time.
Yeah. I think that's the plan with her. The next day at the baker that Marty suggested, that Marty got his cake from, the baker shows them a cake which looks like male genitalia. They turn around and realize that they are at an erotic bakery as they look at some more cakes on display. They are shocked that Marty served them a penis cake. I got a question for you, Steve. Do you think that Marty got the cake? He didn't realize that it was an erotic bakery when he walked in, and he got a big he said a log cake, but it's basically like a penis with balls cake. Do you think he realized that he got the cake? This is my theory, right? that Marty got the cake and he showed it to his wife. He didn't realize it was a penis until he opened it up. And then his wife's like, there's no way you're serving this cake. Let's get something else. And maybe we'll save the cake for us or whatever. And then Marty realized the Davids and the Greens were here and like, let's just serve him penis cake. Or do you think that was the cake that they served, but maybe they just cut everything up. They're like, oh, we shouldn't show like the penis. Let's just cut it into slices and serve it.
No, I think because the baker or the guy behind the counter says,
Marty's been here a couple of times.
Oh,
right, okay.
So so I think there's no way he would accidentally order a penis cake at an erotic bakery. I mean, that's the only cake you're going to get. It's not like they've got dick cakes and non-dick cakes. All their cakes are dicks. So
they had a naked lady cake.
Yeah, you're going to get a body part cake, whatever it is, a sex cake. So I mean, he could have served it. Like I don't think he ordered it accidentally, but I could see a scenario where they had an option to serve something else, like a different cake or, some other thing that they had in the fridge or whatever, but just to sort of, just to fuck with Larry and Richard a bit more. Sorry.
No, to fuck with Larry and Jeff a bit more.
Jeff, sorry, not Richard. I'm confusing parties.
Oh, confusing. Yeah, Richard did.
Larry,
I don't give you, it's confusing, yeah.
Yeah, like they're like, well, we've got the dick cake, let's just give it to them. So I think the first part of your theory doesn't hold up because he's ordered it more than once.
Yes, sure.
But him maliciously serving the dick cake just to fuck with Larry, I can, totally see happening.
I can get behind that. Yeah. No, you're right. My first part of the theory doesn't hold water, but no, that's true. No, I think he's deliberately served him penis cake. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's just like, they had the dick cake and they're like, well, we know that. And I think Marty, Marty knows Larry well enough to know that if he finds out about this, this is going to press his buttons. Most people would just, like, if I was served a dick cake, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's a bit weird. But, it's not a dick. It's just a cake shaped like a dick. It's just cake.
Yeah, you're not eating an actual
I wouldn't be bothered by it. It would be like a 5-second, oh, okay, I ate a dick cake. Oh, that's funny. And then move on. And that's it. Yeah. Larry is the sort of person that he fixates on the weird stuff that most people would just laugh off or brush off as like just a strange little circumstance. I don't know whether Marty was thinking that deep of like, if Larry finds out about this will really bother him because he's not like other people. But if it was, that's some good 4D chess that Marty's playing.
Yeah, but when that cake came up, man, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's a big cake.
That's a fucking huge cake. Yeah, no, Marty definitely did it to just to kind of get some revenge on the Greens and Larry and Davids for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great episode this one is. At the David's party, everyone is mingling. Marty is talking to Larry, and Marty reminds him that he came to the party on the right day, which Larry's like, oh, yeah, you got me. Larry brings up Marty's choice of cake, and Marty defends his selection. So I actually said, yeah, it's a penis cake, and you liked it so much you took the balls home. Marty says that Larry took the balls home and you enjoyed it. And Larry's like, I didn't know they were balls.
Yeah, I guess on their own they'd kind of just look like a dome, like just a cake, really. If you cut the ball, if you cut the ball out independent of the rest of the dick and the other ball, it just looks like it looks like its own cake, like a dome.
It does. It looks like a round cake. Yeah.
Yeah, but
a couple of round cakes.
He didn't know that they were balls.
Oh, funny. Yes. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so they're talking downstairs. They see Richard and Cha. They're upstairs in the upstairs foyer, like not the mezzanine, but like the upstairs foyer where the stairs are. They're chatting away. Larry goes upstairs to talk to them. He apologizes for what happened regarding Cha and everything like that. And Richard and Larry, Richard forgives him, and they seem to be getting along. Jeff walks in with a cake, and it's in the box. Larry realizes that he will serve penis cake by accident as he runs down towards Jeff, and we hear Kaisha scream in the background. Kaisha, the daughter. After the party, it's late at night. Larry is downstairs eating the penis cake. He's eating a piece of it. And notably, he's eating the balls. If you notice, like some of the ball is cut off.
Yeah,
it's a nice little touch. Nice little reference to the conversation with Marty.
Yeah, it might be the tastier part of the cake.
Must.
Maybe Larry just feels like, you know what? If I'm going to eat a dick cake, the balls seem less weird than the shaft or the head. Right. I don't know.
Just eat the balls.
You know what I mean? Like for some, like Larry would think about, like most people would just be like, it's all just cake. Who cares? But Larry would, Larry sits down to eat the cake late at night, and he's like, what's the least weird part to eat? The balls.
Yeah.
Because I've already eaten the balls, and like he would be the sort of person to pick the least weird part, even though it's all just cake.
Yeah, I'd be a bit weird slicing off like the shaft. That'd be.
Yeah, I think.
Ooh, that would make me like.
It's almost like phantom limb syndrome where, where it's like when you see someone get kicked in the nuts, you can feel it in your own nuts.
Yes.
It's like...
It's a guy thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure, I'm sure there's different versions of it for all different people, but like relating it to dicks, I think if you see any form of dick or ball injury, you can feel it in your own groin. Yeah, so it's probably that as well. He doesn't want to slice through a big shaft because he'll feel it sort of like vicariously. Yeah, so
he just shaves off the balls a little bit.
He does, yeah.
Loretta comes downstairs and sits with him as Larry apologizes for what happened, and he asks if she was able to get Kaisha, if Kaisha was okay. And Loretta said she was able to, eventually get her to go to sleep. Loretta is smoking in front of him, and Larry asks if Loretta can smoke outside instead of in the house. He offers her some cake. She puts out her cigarette in his slice of cake, and she walks off, presumably to go to bed. He throws his piece of cake with the cigarette in the rubbish bin near the kitchen door, just under where the smoke alarm used to be. Take note of this for the final scene. Larry hops into bed. Cheryl asks where he's been, and Larry said, "Oh, I just ate some penis," as he falls asleep. We commented before, and that was a really funny line.
Yeah, I just ate some penis.
Yes, let's say some penis. The scene cuts to the bin in the kitchen beginning to smoke up, and the camera pans up to where the smoke alarm used to be, but it's all just wires. So obviously there's no smoke alarm to go off. It smash cuts to the next morning where all the family, the Blacks and the Davids, are all standing outside, surrounded by all their burnt out furniture and goods. And it cuts to the house, and it's been completely destroyed by fire, like gutted on the inside. Firefighters are bringing in burnt furniture, and they're dumping it in the front yard. Ted walks up to them with a bottle of wine and is shocked at what happened, and as Larry explains what happened. Larry asks, "What are you doing here, Ted?" He says that he thought their party was tonight as he missed it, and that's the end of the episode. So it sounds like he's using the excuse that Larry did as well.
Yeah, it almost feels like Ted knew that Larry was, because we've agreed that Marty was onto Larry basically from the start about the pretend wrong night of the party thing. I couldn't tell whether, we didn't really talk about it, but I couldn't tell whether Ted, believed him or not, or, gave him the benefit of the doubt and was just insistent that they stay anyway, just because they were there. And because of that, I can't tell whether Ted knew that Larry was full of shit and was just doing it to get back at him, like just to mess with him. But then I think Ted's not that petty, No. So I don't know whether Ted was just using the excuse and hoping Larry fell for it too, or whether he was doing it on purpose just to say to Larry, "I know what you did, and I'm going to do it too, because why not?"
I just found it weird how Ted turned up during the day.
Yeah, on his own as well. Like Mary wasn't there.
Mary. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me feel like it's maybe it was more deliberate, just like I'm just going to rock up at a random time and say, "Oh, I thought the party was now."
Yeah, right. I thought that was kind of like just thrown in. I don't know. Yeah. It was just like a weird way to end it. I don't know. What do you think? Was it just weird?
I
felt
thought
like it was a little bit out of place. Or there could have been reasoning for it. I just couldn't tell. I watched the episode a couple of times, but I just couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, like I didn't feel like it was. I didn't expect it, but it felt kind of right with the rest of the episode. I thought it was, just like it came full circle where, that's often the case where Larry tries something out like, a scam or like a weird theory or whatever, and then it backfires, and then it flips on its head. In this case, his excuse backfired on him, because Ted rocked up. Again, don't know whether it was intentional or whether he just tried out the same excuse. Yeah, I don't know. It was unexpected, but I liked it. I liked the end. It was a bit of a strange. I thought the ending would just be them looking at their house, and then it would
then it would just go to the music. Yeah.
But, I thought it was a nice little touch, and I wasn't mad about it.
Oh no, that's cool. No, I wasn't mad. It was just strange. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It was a bit like, oh, okay, I didn't expect that. Yeah. And the timing of it and the fact that it was on his own. Yeah, like at 2:00 in the afternoon or whatever it was, and he just hands him a bottle of wine, and he doesn't seem too phased. It's like, oh, what happened here? It's like, well, obviously the house burned down, Ted. What are you doing? Yeah, it was odd, but I liked it.
One part of the scene I love is when Loretta says, "What are we going to do now?" And Larry says, "Hopefully another family can adopt this."
Yeah.
Nice
I guess during those times, like a grim joke, I don't know, would add a bit of levity to the situation. Like if you watched your house, if you're watching your smoldering house, I don't know, I'd probably make a joke like that just to lighten the mood a bit.
Yeah. But they do move to a new house next week, and it's like a recurring theme in Curb so far. They all seem to be moving to a different house every season.
Yeah,
it's like a running joke.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was season 6, episode 1, Meet the Blacks. I enjoyed this one. I think it's a very solid start. Probably one of the better premiere season episodes of Curb. 4 out of 5. 4 Larrys out of 5. What about you, bud?
I'll give it 4.5. I fucking
4.5,
love this episode. Yeah, I can't really fault it. The only reason I don't give it a 5 is because I feel like they're reserved for like the all-timers, the classics that are just head and shoulders above the rest. But, this episode was great. I don't think it's an all-timer. It's still an establishing episode for the season. The subject matter wasn't super. I feel like with the all-timers, the subject matter, like say
a beloved aunt, the doll.
Yeah, like
classics,
it's so over the top, and it's so like not taboo, but it's so like ridiculous that the subject matter adds to those episodes to make them the all-timers. I don't feel like any of the subject matter in this episode, even though, exposing, a young child to a dick cake and traumatizing her is, that's pretty rough. It didn't feel like an all-timer, but a fantastic episode.
Yep.
I
said, definitely one of the better premiere episodes. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more there. And yeah, the way that they introduced the blacks was great. Larry was just being his, sort of cunty and considerate self. I thought they did a really good job of, showing the state of their marriage. Larry and Cheryl's marriage. It just, it ticked all the boxes for me, and it made me laugh. Like just lots of little scenes and little lines that just made me howl with laughter. I really loved it.
Yeah, me too. No, it was a good episode. Really nice start, and hopefully season 6 is a bit better than season 5. We'll see.
Totally. Well, so far, strong start.
Strong start. Yeah. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you had a really good time. You can follow us on social media, Curbcast Pod, if you want to talk all things Curb. We do have an email address if you prefer more the long form version of writing to us about feedback about the podcast or discussing the episode or the show in general. Curbcastpod@gmail.com. We also have a Patreon where you can subscribe for $1 a month to help keep the lights on our burgeoning podcast network called Mishmash Media. Patreon.com/Mishmash Media. That link is in today's show notes, and you can listen to us on any podcast service, and if you want, you can give us a 5-star review. That helps a lot with the algorithms on the podcast services. So if people type in Curb Your Enthusiasm, we'll come up in the top 2 or 3, which will help a lot with the exposure. And you can tell your friends and family who enjoy Curb about us as well. That would be absolutely amazing. My name is Ivan.
And I'm Stephen.
We'll catch you next week for The Anonymous Donor, episode 2 of season 6. And it's the debut of, according to our Facebook group, Curb Your Enthusiasm Fan Club, which you can join, by the way, Leon Black, probably one of the more popular Curb characters. He makes his debut in the series. We're looking forward to talking about him for the very first time.
Yes,
Take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll catch you then. Thanks for listening. This podcast is part of Mishmash Media, an independent podcast network. Follow us on social media at Mishmash Media AU or support us on Patreon. All those links are in the show notes.